let us know. Good evening and welcome to the March 21st Heritage Commission meeting. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Carl, you can start with the introductions in case our viewers need to know who we are, yeah.
Okay, Carl Frank, Vice Chair.
Marion Colby, Chairman.
Stephen Callow, member.
Gail Barringer, member.
Steve Gannon, Selectman's Rep.
Okay. First item of business is approving the February 15th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes,
I move that we accept the minutes of February 24th.
I second.
Okay, any discussion, any additions, deletions, or, corrections?
I'd like to say that I thought Matt did an excellent
Did
job.
a very good job.
okay, very good. Okay, so let's have a vote on that. So everybody, all in favor of accepting the minutes as presented?
Aye.
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 I'm going to abstain as I was not in attendance.
So 401, the vote is for the, accepting the minutes. Okay, moving along. Does anybody have any requests for additions or deletions to the agenda at this time?
I don't.
Okay, all right. Public input?
Hold on, no, we gotta pause and I'll look at the public.
Yeah, I did, I looked over, I said public input.
I did see a guy at the door peek in, but he left, so.
Yeah, I don't see him out there, so I think he left. I don't know if he was here for us or not. For all of our viewers, please feel free to come to our meetings, and if you have anything that you'd like to bring up, we'll be happy to discuss it. But seeing no members of the public, we'll close public input. Now, our bylaws call for this is being considered our annual meeting, the first meeting after town elections, and it calls for us to have our elections of officers. So, I haven't gone through this before, so Carl, how do we handle that?
We ask for volunteers to serve in positions.
Okay.
Since it's
I don't
only
mind
4 people.
continuing to be the chairman if everybody's okay with that.
Okay.
I
Carl,
nominate Marion Colby to continue as chair.
Carl, would you continue as
Yes,
vice chairman?
sure.
Okay.
That
We
would
gotta
be-
go in order, so
There's our slate.
do we have a second for,
Right.
I'll second for Marion to be
Okay.
chair?
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's good, thank
Then
you.
you're gonna nominate
Carl for
Carl.
Carl
vice,
as vice chair?
Vice
Lose
chairman.
this vote.
I don't think so.
I'll second Carl as chair,
Okay.
vice chair.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then we'll just leave things the way they are.
400, and both,
Oh, yeah,
Matt's watching.
oh, yeah, 400, right. All right, now, I've had a request from Kim Kleiner that we bring up. Wait a minute, hold on. That the town is in desperate need of people to serve on the zoning board of adjustments and the planning board.
Planning board, yep.
So if
both have
anybody who's
vacancies.
watching or anybody here has the time or interest, then they are looking for candidates to serve on both of those boards. Everybody aware of that?
Mhm.
Okay, then we
And
can,
actually, all the boards have opens vacancies for even, alternate members.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like to be on the rec as an alternate member, it's a good way to get in. I think they're full now with Steve being on board. Conservation, I believe, is full, and they have alternate members as well.
Mm-hmm.
Library trustees, I think.
Library
had
trustees.
Alternates, yeah.
We have a full board here?
we have a full
Yes.
board, but we need, but we will,
We're
we,
supposed to have
we could
alternates.
have alternates, so if anybody watching would like to come in and help us out, we'd appreciate that. with some
Definitely planning and
alternates.
ZBA. ZBA is hurting. I think they're only down to 3.
Yeah, they need,
I
they
would
definitely,
consider ZBA because, you know, I work so
Yeah.
closely with that stuff in Manchester.
Yeah. And I think they only meet once a month, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see when they meet.
And the nice thing about it is, like, if you become an alternate, it gives you a way to to try it.
Yeah,
See if
see
you
if you're
like
gonna
it.
like
And
it.
typically, once you get on the board, you enjoy it and you end up being sucked in like the rest of us.
You
Is
have
an
to quit your
alternate
day
ex-
job.
Yes.
Is an alternate expected typically to attend all meetings?
Yep, so the difference between an alternate and a full member is an
Yeah,
alternate
yeah.
attends meetings, the alternate can have discussions, it can do everything, but the only thing the alternate cannot do is if there is a full board, they cannot vote. But if, say, there's a 5-member board, but 1 member's out, the chairman will appoint the alternate as a full member with voting permissions. So an alternate has all the same rights except for voting when it comes to the board.
Yeah. So that would be, so maybe, well, anyway, Carl will look into it. I know the planning board needs people, but, and I don't know, do they meet once or twice a month, planning board?
Twice.
Twice a month, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think ZBA and Heritage are the only ones that meet once a month.
Okay, so ZBA is on, what, the third Monday?
It could be.
I think so.
When is selectmen, second and fourth Monday?
Second and fourth, yeah.
One more reason to love Mondays.
Yeah. Well, it'll give you something to look forward to at work, that you have a nice meeting to go
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Would you say second Monday?
And there is a workshop, if you decide to join planning, there's a workshop for planning, I think, at the end of the month, maybe next month, that they're gonna go over, what you do as the planning, as on a planning board.
Okay, so that's good information for everybody. Okay, status of the Corning House, because we haven't heard anything else from planning or from
From
the
anyone.
selectmen regarding when, I know that the owner, wanted to know when we were gonna move ahead, and we really haven't moved, we haven't.
Well, has he come in again to the planning board yet? That's what
don't-
it was
I don't
contingent
think
on.
I don't believe so, no.
I don't think
he
so
has.
either.
No, because
But I
planning
noticed
was,
going by
He
there.
had to submit a new site plan.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think, the last planning board, he definitely was not there, and that was Monday maybe, or Tuesday.
yeah, there was one this week, yeah. I
Yeah.
think there
Tuesday,
was,
he
yeah.
wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
I've noticed though, driving by the house, that he's right up to the foundation with his excavating,
Yeah, I think they were spreading the loam that was sitting out there.
yeah. Like one slip of the backhoe and
Yeah, whoops.
we won't have a hearing. But we were asked by Kim Kleiner to do, to come up with, what we would like to have for signs, so that we'll be prepared for that. So I went and printed out some, I'll just pass these around, and I printed out a number of, I found some prototypes online, and I just
Did you
printed out.
have a picture of the sign that we had at
No.
Bixby? You don't?
I didn't ever take one. We made
wonder if
one
I
up
have one.
when we had
Yeah.
the Bixby house, and then it blew away. I mean, we were gonna keep it, but it wasn't.
We had a
We
big
didn't have
snowstorm.
time to have it laminated. We were in a rush to do it within the 5-day guideline, and so we just put it out.
It went over in a snowstorm.
And-
Yes.
It was close to the road.
It's
and the
in
snowplow
Merrimack now.
buried it,
Yeah,
right.
we don't, or whatever, but anyway, here, take a look at some, we'll just pass these around, I just printed out some prototypes. And, we just know what it needs to have on it, it's gotta have the, that it's a public hearing. I would really like to have one that you can see from the south, one that you can see from the north, and one that you could see from the east.
Okay, let me go back to, that was demolished in February of last year. Let me
Yes.
just see if I took a sign.
Oh, okay, maybe you did, because that was fine, everything that was
So
on
we
that
could
was
have
what we
had the
needed.
hearing in January too. Oh, yeah, here we got pictures. Let's see.
I would like to make a correction on what I just said. It was planning board, but it's actually called the ZBA decision-making process, and it's free. And it's Wednesday, April 10th, 2024, at 6:30 PM at Nashua Regional Planning Commission, 30 Temple Street, Nashua,
What
Suite
was the date
310.
again, Steve?
It is April 10th, Wednesday, April 10th,
Mm-hmm.
at 6:30 at 30 Temple Street.
And what's this for?
The old courthouse?
ZBA decision-making process.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Well, you've already got exposure to doing that up in Manchester,
Yeah,
right?
it's not a front row seat, but I do see a lot of it.
Yeah. All right, so we would put public hearing that a permit has been, a demolition permit. Permit application has been submitted. And then we'd have the hearing date, time, place. What else did we have, Stephen? We must have had the address of the property on there. Because what we wanna do is have something where we can have, you know, bullet points, and then, and this would be, you know, and then be able to fill them in.
Yep.
Have it be a sturdy enough sign that you can take it down
And use it
and
again?
use it again and just fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this just because it would show up. Something, I mean, I wasn't looking particularly at the wording, but, this I thought would be something this would be too small for people to read as they're trying to draw, I mean, unless
Oh
somebody,
my God, no, you need a big sign.
Go off the
but I like this, I mean, just to get the idea that I would like it something big that you can
Yeah,
have like on a
something like that,
signpost.
Yep.
So
You need
that-
an explanation down below so that they can stop and read it.
Yeah, so that it would be big enough so that they would see public hearing notice and they'd know, you know, the prime information that it was something they could see when they were driving by, basically. So I kinda like that one. This is just a notice of, this is a notice of demolition, but that's, I just printed that one out so you could see that
I don't think we have
the
one,
way
Marion,
these
of the
lines,
sign.
you know, just the fill-in things, though, that you can just have it made with the fill-in blanks.
I like that large white one,
This one,
yes.
that's what I like,
Maybe we could get
too.
somebody to build the stand for it.
And this one, well, this one's, I don't know, I think this one was too small to read
do
too. I mean, of course, it's just a prototype,
Yeah.
but this one wasn't bad.
Yeah, it
Notice of public hearing. On a signpost, though.
Uh-huh.
need
So-
public hearing for ADA improvements, really?
Evidently in, wherever this is,
New York or
New
whatever.
Paltz, New York, they need it.
Someplace with very strict
Application has been, yeah,
rules.
they have it. Oh, no, this is
What-
Frederick, Maryland.
Still, what a reason to say no to complying with federal law.
Yeah, and, oh, they wanna they wanna relocate the ATM, add bypass lane and upgrade ADA access.
Okay.
All right.
And with associated forest plan. Anyway, they got reasons.
And depending on the size too, you could always use the green, I'd call them garden fences that you
Yeah.
could bang
Oh,
into
those
the ground.
posts that you can
Yeah,
bang in.
temporarily, and then pull them out.
Good point.
Yeah, now the one we used, of course, we went to Staples when we had to do the one for the Bixby House, and
It was just the bent wire.
you know, it was one of those like a
Yeah.
political type sign, which we needed it done like in a day. So it was about $100. I think we just about put people into a stroke situation up in the office here. But we had to have it out there, so we did. We just took the bull by the horns and did it, and it was, wow, and we couldn't save it, that was the problem, because it wasn't, but this, you could have it done in a way that would be,
Yeah.
so I think one of these two that's gonna be on on like a signpost.
Mhm.
Do you like those?
Yes.
Cause I'm gonna give those to Kim
Yeah,
Kleiner to
yeah.
let her look at them, and then we'll give her a list of what we need on the sign.
Mhm.
And this was about $90 worth of ink, printing these out on my old printer. And the hamsters had to work overtime running it. Okay, so now, I was thinking more about the Corning House, and I thought, when we do have the hearing, and one of our jobs is to come up with alternate ideas because of course, we all know that in the final analysis, it's up to the owner whether or not they, you know, demolish the house, so, but we would come up with some kind of idea, and of course, you know, he's already said, well, you know, you can have it, but of course, we have no way to do that because we have no funding and we have no, you know, kitty, so to speak, so,
I have some thoughts, if it's
Okay.
appropriate to share them now.
yes, that's
Okay.
what I'm looking for now.
Um, A weekend ago, this article was in the Union Leader, and it's about a house in Rye that was
I
built.
saw that.
Historic
in,
house.
18,
What a beautiful house.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh my
And it's
God.
free to anyone who wants it, but
Oh, I
it has
saw
to be
that,
moved.
yeah.
Yeah.
well, for example, it says that, and I think Mr. Monroe would find this article actually comforting, because it mirrors the situation that he
Uh-huh,
has and
yeah.
that we have.
The developers,
It's a beautiful old house, but it's, Well, it says in part, sometime this year, this house is going to move one way or another, and then the owner will start to build a new house. Herlihy, who is the man that used to own the house and is advocating that someone take it for free, says that whoever takes this will contract to remove the parts of the house they want by a certain date, and then the owner will be responsible for whatever is left. And for example, the original house includes wide plank pine floors, raised paneling on walls and doors, mantels, molding, a boxed winder staircase, which is like the
Yep,
staircase
just like the one
at
up
the
there.
Corning house, wrought iron hardware on the doors, fireplaces, and original hand-hewn beams, which I think we saw in the cellar, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, so it goes on to say in this article that if this home is to be demolished, the owner would invite salvagers to the property ahead of time, he said, recovering the materials from the homes that have, a salvager who's had experience recovering these materials from homes. And the article also indicates, which I think Mr. Moreau would agree with as well, the logistics of moving the house, and I think we agree, and finding the right person when only a small percentage of people are interested in renovating old homes are daunting. I bring this up now, even before the hearing, because I was thinking, as you said, Marion, and we've said all along, the situation, Mr. Moreau has offered the house if anybody wants to move it, but we recognize that the town doesn't have the money. We
Right.
certainly don't have
We
any
don't have the
money.
money.
And
Or the land to put it
The
on.
land.
so I can see a way to make this a win-win situation, and I'm glad you're here, because I was thinking, if Mr. Moreau, and I'm just bringing it up tonight, I haven't approached anybody outside of this room, if Mr. Moreau were willing to bring in someone to salvage all of those wonderful materials and donate the proceeds to the Heritage Commission with permission of the Board of Selectmen, then the Heritage Commission would begin to have a small budget, and it would be win-win. Mr. Moreau could feel that he contributed to the Heritage Commission, that he cooperated, that he let the salvage people come in and take all of the valuable things that we saw that are there. And I don't know what the next step would be, because I'm just bringing it up
You know,
tonight.
I printed out the bylaws again for our group, because I wanted to make sure I had the right date for when we did the elections, and I was reading them. And it does say that, under our powers, that we can receive gifts of money and property, both real and personal, in the name of the town, subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen, such gifts to be managed and controlled by the commission for its proper purpose.
Yep.
So we could, through the Board of Selectmen, we could have a fund.
The beginning of a phone.
And then, at some point down the road, somebody will be demolishing something that we'll actually be able to have it moved.
Say,
Or people may
Or
want
save
to
it somehow,
donate to
yeah.
the Heritage
Yeah.
Commission.
Right.
If we have an official fund, that's,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
you can definitely donate, and that's something we discussed briefly too. What it is, it just needs to be documented.
Right.
Then the
Right.
board makes a motion to accept the donation.
Right.
And then what that does is it makes it town property and it can't be sold.
Right.
Or if
Right.
it does get sold or whatever, it goes back into the town or
Right.
into the
Right,
heritage. You know, you
But
could
that would be
word it.
one of our, that would be an excellent alternate suggestion for the,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
that we could bring up, because,
so I think we.
as you said,
not-
win-win
Oh,
situation.
absolutely, win-win.
I think he would be open to that too, as long as, a qualified, someone who's insured, because what he doesn't want is to
No, I
have a
think
bunch
he-
of people running
He
around.
Well, that would be
mentioned a
up to him.
person too.
He does, but I know someone
Yeah,
You know
probably
somebody
who-
that's
yeah,
probably,
yeah.
yeah.
more careful.
yeah, because the big thing would be in, liability. He's not gonna
Oh,
want
for
people.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
when,
Sure.
you know, we're.
Don't
yeah.
need any more broken arms.
The,
Oh, really?
right, the house that used to be on the corner of Albuquerque and Charles Bancroft that was demolished a few years ago.
Yep.
I handled that for my brother-in-law in removing floors and all sorts of things out of that. There was a lot of early woodwork.
Yeah, and there's a gentleman in town, not down the
Right.
street from me, that actually does demolitions, and
Right.
he might be willing to step up and help us out.
So Marion, what would our next step be? Should we
It might be
write
to
a letter to
contact
Mr.
him.
Moreau?
I think we
Right.
should maybe do a letter to him, or,
Yeah.
Or speak to him personally.
yeah, maybe
He's
make it
very
approachable, he's
amiable.
very
Very
approachable,
British when
yeah.
it comes to stuff.
Maybe we could, I have his phone number and everything, we could call him and set up a
Yeah.
time and,
Work it out.
Just
work
chat
it out,
and see
yeah.
what he thinks.
and see if he's open to it at all, because it would really be a way to make that demolition more palatable to, well, first of all, to us, you know, who appreciate the historic nature of things, that the materials are not gonna just get, you know, like at the Bixby House, they didn't really allow us to salvage very much. And that had similar features, you know, and they just put it down. So it was a shame, but I
Keep
mean,
it out of the landfill.
it's sad to see these, you know, 200-plus-year-old building things that were so carefully put in, to have them just destroyed. So it would be really good for us, and it would, you know, it would make it more, like I say, palatable about the whole demolition process.
And I think Reggie, who's been very accommodating when we've met with him, would feel that that would be win-win for him as well as for us, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Because I think it bothers him that he's gonna demolish a house. I mean, he has a heart, but he also knows what can I do with it.
Well,
You know,
it's a personal thing for me.
Yes, I know
My
that.
ancestors
Yep.
were, the second family in that house, right, Stephen?
Well, actually, through marriage, the first.
Right, right. So, and I understand, you know, I do, it has to go. I just hope Century Farm never goes, but that's another day, another story.
Yeah, and you definitely want someone qualified that's gonna go in and remove it without destroying
Right,
it
and
or
Stephen said he
damaging it.
knows
Yeah,
somebody that
that's-
is,
Yeah.
yeah, because there are people that
It's quite amazing to
professionally
see.
do it, yeah.
They work so fast. And will even take all of the big stones underneath the house, because, you know, there's a granite foundation that's not very deep, and then there are great rocks that are down there, and there are these people who are restoring these old houses and moving them onto new sites, looking for those things too.
Yep, yeah.
And many folks don't know that, as you do.
Yeah, that's
No,
true.
they
Yeah,
don't.
No,
Right.
no, they don't. But I think that would be, a good step for us to take then.
Yep,
To
I think that
approach
should be our
them.
next move.
Yeah, okay. We all agree with that. Any other alternate plans? Because the other ones that we came up with, I don't think are going to be, you know, we were planning to suggest other ways that he might be able to use the house, but it wouldn't include him being able to demolish it, and I kinda think he's set on that demolition. So I think that what Gail brought up is probably the best alternative plan
Yeah,
at
the
this
only
point.
other option I can think of is if they subdivide out that one piece of property it's on and sell it separately, but that's not usually received well as a suggestion.
No, because he has plans for that property.
Right. He needs the space.
Well, and the other thing is, if he's saying that the state wants that all the way right up to the house
Yeah.
for that turn lane or whatever they're planning to put in there,
Well, there's gonna
that,
be a lot more traffic than this, that's already a traffic jam,
yeah, it's already bad up
24
that-
hours a
yeah.
day, kind of.
Between that Corning Road coming out and that
Right.
traffic, and then down at
It's gonna be worse.
at Edwards, and then
That
with
could
the
be our
gas
first light in
station, and-
town.
I didn't wanna say that.
Could
Yeah.
be.
You might be right.
It could be, yeah, it might end up being. Okay, so we did the demolition signs and the Corning House. All right. Many months ago, and I think, Steve, you might have brought this up at a meeting, that we were asked to have somebody be on the economic development team. And at the time, Carl and I decided that we would, you know, alternate, you know, if one of us was available, we'd go, but no, so I sent this letter on 11/27 to the front office and saying that we have been requested to provide a member. We did not get a firm reply as to when or how often the committee meets, so it's difficult to ascertain who among our small group would be available. Once we are notified of a meeting, either Vice Chairman Carl Frank or I will attend the meetings, depending on availability. And I never heard a word back from anybody, and now they've already got their survey out, but they're still meeting, and they still have
I've
other.
seen meetings, and I'm like, I didn't hear anything about
I know,
this.
that's what I watched one, I listened to it on the Bluetooth while I
We may
was
wanna
driving.
give Kim a call then.
And I thought, so anyway, so I thought, well, maybe I'm just dreaming that I did this letter. But I found the letter in my sent mail and I printed it out so I'll talk to Kim Kleiner and see what they want us to do about it, if anything.
Yeah, find out who the chair is. I think it's Kim.
It might be,
Aren't they meeting right now? I think they're
Or the
meeting
fire
on the other,
station?
yeah,
it's Kim Queenan, I think, isn't it?
yeah, I think they're meeting right now.
We won't be able to be in two
No,
places at
no.
once, so that's not gonna be hard.
I think it is Kim
I didn't see
Queenan that's
anything
the
else on
chair
the
of the economic.
No, because I've listened to a couple of their meetings and I thought, well, that's,
I
and then
have
when
too.
they were coming up with their, developing
The
their,
Energy Committee is meeting across the street.
oh, energy.
Oh,
But
okay.
there is an economics, March 27th, 6:30 PM,
That's next week.
Town Hall right here.
Okay. All right, well, I'll find out about that by March 27th then. But I think that because when they were developing that plan, I mean, their survey, and I thought, well, gee, we didn't have any input into the survey of what, you know. But anyway,
Yeah, I think all the other boards have a representative plus a backup
right.
alternate.
Yeah, I don't even see economic development on the calendar.
I'll find out from Kim or from Kim, one or the other.
I think Kim Queenan's the chair.
I think she is, yeah. Okay, now another thing has come up, that coming up very soon, in 2 years, is the semi-quincentennial of the United States. It'll be 2026, and other towns are already involved in making plans for festivities and celebrations and commemorations, et cetera. So I think, Stephen, can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, the selectman, Robert had asked me something about that in terms of the Historical Society. And I said, well, the Historical Society would certainly, help or put it together and get something going, but we need to start planning now. And then I happened to see, and Gail saw too, that in the town of Wilton, their Heritage Commission was putting it together for them. But since 3 of the 4 members here are both
Both.
Historical Society
There's a little
Heritage
overlap.
Commission,
You're gonna get your hats.
we could say we were working together.
Well, and that is allowed in the bylaws, we can work with other groups, so we'll be working together.
Right.
So, what do you think we need to do next in regard to that? Talk to the selectmen, or?
Probably, Steve.
Yeah, or come up with a general plan, because then also you have to come up with, what you think it's gonna cost for money,
Right.
because I think
There is a fund.
there is a fund.
There is a
Yeah,
fund,
there
but I'm
was,
not
yes.
sure that the fund may be restricted, Steve, to anniversaries of the town itself.
From when
So-
we had the
Well,
250th?
no, there was a fund from before that,
Oh, okay.
that everybody had forgotten about. And then when we were done planning the 275th, they said, oh, why didn't you
yeah.
use that money? We're like,
Right.
what money? And,
Well, plus we had $10,000 left over after the 270
Right.
that was used for the pavilion at, Dara.
what
I was
pavilion?
told.
Oh,
I was told. I don't know if that was true.
Yeah, it was-
Yeah, that was a suggested plan at the time. And, so I think maybe that fund that was available then is for the 300th anniversary of the town, which will be coming up in 10 years.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
And so we may have to seek funding otherwise. But at the time that we had the 275th, Gail was the chief fundraiser and raised a great deal of money for that.
About
Event.
25,000.
wow, Gail,
I was
That-
a committee of one.
that is a lot of money.
Rapping on doors,
Wow.
calling people.
She did, though, it was fabulous.
Yeah, I would suggest, get your team together, come up with a plan, and, get an idea of what you think needs to happen, approximate idea how much it'll cost, and then come before the board. And then we'll talk with Kim Kleiner to find out what are the restrictions with that money, and if there's other money that we could use. And we're talking next year, so we have time to, possibly put into the budget or make
Well, it's-
something come available.
Well, by next year, because it would be in 2026, but we need to have a plan.
Yeah, let's start planning.
So we have, we have 2 years, so we have time
Yes, yeah.
to get stuff through, but we need to have a plan. So how
Right.
do we want to approach that? Do we want to have a subcommittee?
Do you want to make an inquiry to the Board of Selectmen, Steve, to see if they would like us to begin to develop a plan for this
I
event?
think, honestly, I know how I'd feel. I'd rather just run with it and then come back and report to us.
Okay.
And then if there needs to be a subcommittee, then I think you also could ask for volunteers
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I
Well, we
think a lot
might
of
wanna
people get involved.
collaborate with like, because everybody's time is precious, but we might wanna collaborate with maybe the Spirit of Litchfield people or, something like that, that can do some of the legwork or some of the planning. if
Amber
we have-
Flint likes events.
Amber likes
Yep.
events, so we could probably develop a committee through, without
And
without
we
it just
drew
being us.
people from the 55 and over communities and for the 275th committee. And they were hard workers and good contributors. I think we had a young person, we had Pat Jewett, of course. We had a fairly large committee. We had the Darling
did.
Sisters, also from the 55
All
and over.
Allard.
Maybe
All
the
out.
library could pitch in somehow and do,
Yep.
some just,
Yeah. That will-
Kevin-
all right, so that's what we'll do.
Kevin Lynch was on that committee as building inspector. That was before the days of a parade ordinance.
yeah.
Special event. Yeah, I would recommend
Okay.
plan something because I'd hate for you to come before the board and us just say, oh yeah, fine,
Go do
put something
it, yeah.
together. I'd rather you come before the board
A
and say
little
this is what we're
skeleton
thinking.
plan anyway, and
Yeah.
then flesh it out as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so we could talk about that, further. Now, I forgot something, I'm sorry, I have to go back to number 8 on the PSA where we talked about zoning and planning. There is a free training workshop coming up for elected and appointed municipal officials, April 3rd. And I printed this out, it's free, and you can, anyway, you'll read about it.
Is that one of the ones in Concord that the
Yes.
state puts on?
Yeah, but I'm trying to see if this one is, it's also a Zoom.
Right.
You could go to Triangle Park Drive in Concord or attend virtually. And it's presented by the NHMA Legal Services Attorneys, complimentary workshop providing municipal officials with the tools and information to effectively serve the communities. Right to know law, town governance, budget essentials, ethics, blah, blah, blah. And this one's a free one. No printouts of the material or hard copies will be provided, but if you register and you can't make it, then they'll send a recording of the workshop. So, anyway, that's it. And then, Steve, do you need one of these or not?
No, I'm going to one already. I was
And
just
the
trying to
other
figure out
one
if
is
it's the
this
same.
right to know workshop. But that one's an $70 or something if
Yeah.
you go in person, or 60 for, let me see.
Yeah, it's on April 17th
No,
at noon.
it's 80, are we members of whatever that is? I guess we must be. It's $85 or 70 virtual.
Yep.
And that's I guess it's more in depth about the right to know law, which I'm not 100% familiar with, but anyway, that is, I think Kim Kleiner would like me to get to that, but I don't. It's in April, and I'm not gonna be around, and I don't think I'm gonna be someplace where I can Zoom it. So if anybody else wants to read about that, they can.
I'll figure out too. I'm going to that, and if they have, it might be something that you could watch afterwards. 'Cause
Okay.
That's what you want to do is sit and watch some kind of really exciting.
Well, I know, but maybe just to familiarize yourself with
Yeah.
it, you could be doing other things.
Like I
at
said
the same
earlier,
time.
I think it's something that every member of all boards should do, just so that we're familiar with what is the 91A right to know law and the impacts it could have.
Right. Okay, now the, next thing on the agenda is, Stephen, can you talk about that? Cause you saw the part about the school in Manchester that they were getting ready to demolish.
Yes, so with the school proposal, which did not pass, there has always been a discussion about what to do with the old 1930
Yep.
School that's still standing. And a lot of suggestions have been made. They all seem to be directed toward, well, that would be a good place for the Historical Society to take over, which sounds interesting. But in the Union Leader on March 5th was an article And it involved the Hallsville School in Manchester, which the city stopped using in 2021. And it was built in 1891. And what was interesting about this article was that the Heritage Commission in Manchester sent a letter to the mayor's office saying this is a building that should be saved. And it seems to me that the Heritage Committee in Litchfield should do the same thing concerning the Griffin Memorial School building, so that it's on record.
That's not already a historical site?
Well, it's on the New
It's on the
Hampshire,
register.
Okay.
yeah.
But, you know, it could be demolished. Who knows what could happen there?
Because that one thing about the state historic register, unlike the national historic register, it doesn't preclude people from doing things to their property.
There are restrictions, however, which I just
About
found
what,
that out.
selling and so forth?
No, but there are restrictions as to what can be done to a building, because one of the trustees of that board said, I mentioned something about something or other, and he said, oh, they can't do that. And I said, well, I thought there were no restrictions. He said, oh, no, it's not without restrictions. The state does have restrictions.
You mean the houses that are on the state register?
Buildings that are, I was
Buildings.
talking about public buildings
Okay,
that are on the
buildings,
register.
yes. But would it include houses or?
Yes, if they were on the state register.
Just curious, thank you.
And, you know, they weren't things like, oh, what color you could paint your house or something like that. But there were things that would not be allowed.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So, how do you guys feel about, I mean, we would be sending this to the selectmen just to say that we want it on the radar, that
Right.
this, you know, because
Would-
in light of that not passing, I mean, they were planning to demolish but they had mentioned not demolishing that building.
Right.
But now.
Prior to that, there was talk of
Of
demolishing.
demolishing it, right. But now that they've,
And it
Now-
would depend on what happened to the site too, if the site was sold to a developer.
right, and
How
now
are we
that,
gonna
and now
control
that,
that?
exactly, and now that they have, you know, they'll have to work on an alternate plan, and that's what well, according to their meeting last night, that they'll be working on, you know, getting some other public feedback, et cetera. But, you know, if they have to do a lot of renovations at the Griffin School, then we want it on record that we don't want that, you know, to be part of those. You know, we don't want them to think that they could like take that down and put a new building there or something. So we just want, we want, is everybody in
Yeah.
agreement that we should have that
It's
letter
just a
on record?
statement of record, that's all
Yeah,
it is.
okay. All right, so can we get together and do that? Okay.
Sure.
Um, Okay.
Would it be okay to go back to the Corning House briefly?
Sure, yes, go back.
We had said at our last meeting, and, you know, time just takes over our days, we were going to get together and do a one-page history of the Corning House.
Oh, yes, with a
So
picture.
I think we should do that, because that would be a valuable handout. It could be a
Okay.
document, a one-page document that citizens might like to buy and
Could-
frame.
Bill could even post on the town website.
Yes.
I actually
For
thought
people
about
to
that
read.
too, because if we did it in a nice way, we could do one on the Bixby house, we could do
We
one on
should.
that house, and
We
we,
should.
other old houses in town, and have like a little, I don't know, a little portfolio or a little, you know.
I think too, like if you write something up about the Corning House, I would expect Mr. Turo to wanna put something in, like his building that he's gonna have for the mailboxes.
Oh, yeah, about the
I
history
think
of
I
that
it.
bet he
kinda-
would, yes.
Yeah, I think it would be kinda nice to have people look back on it, like, oh, imagine that sitting here.
Yeah, I'm
And then
glad
they
you
can look
brought
at
that up.
Carl's, not a video, but what'd you call it?
What, the 3D?
The 3D
Yeah.
photos,
Automatic model?
Yeah,
yeah,
Carl's artwork.
that was fabulous, really, so, yes, okay, that's good, so we have a few things to do before the next meeting. Do you think the three of us could sit together and do that?
I volunteer to join you two,
Okay,
Carl, of course, and
can join us if he wants, but we'll probably do it during the day. Carl will get out of it.
Like, I'm looking at this training, I'm like, well, that's not gonna happen.
Or the one on
We'll
April,
run it by you, Carl, before we do anything with it.
before we send it in, yeah.
I'm burning up half my vacation time for work, doing town town meetings.
Really?
Yeah,
I know.
because we have 4 elections this year,
Oh, boy.
and I'm going to training in April.
But you know, that's what I was saying. I said, wait a minute, this is a volunteer job. What is going on here, you know? They do, but I really couldn't imagine how much time you put in as a selectman. And the school board too, and I had to say, I appreciate all of their time that they put in, but
A lot.
I mean, we need people that are interested to do it, and the problem is, we have a lot of people who like to talk about it and write about it, but they don't wanna come and do the meetings, you know, so that's a problem. Okay, so we have that on our agenda too to do. Does anybody have any new business?
Just one item of new
Okay.
business, and that was, I had an email from Robert Goodby of the Monadnock Archaeological Group, and they are planning to begin the survey of the Thornton's Ferry site across from the old fire station and church sometime this spring, when the weather is a little bit better, and I let Kim Kleiner know so that she's aware of it all, asked him to give us a heads up when they will be coming, so that we'll know they're there and we won't call the police to have them arrested
Right,
for
yeah.
digging on the site or something.
Right, we won't try to enact our metal detecting
Right.
policy.
Yes, make sure there's a waiver in place for that.
And I'd like to express public appreciation to the Board of Selectmen for funding this second phase.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely, because
It's going to produce some interesting information for the
well,
town.
it's really uncovering the earliest part of our history, so. Very, very important work, I think, definitely. So, does anybody else have anything that they wanna elaborate on the agenda, or anything else to
No.
bring up?
No?
Do we have a motion to adjourn then?
So moved?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 500.
Meeting adjourned.
Motion passed, so the meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for viewing, and please stay tuned for next month.
Okay.
Guys, remember that.